Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Stuff You Don't Know, But You Probably Should. My name's David Dravanek, and tonight we're going to be talking about the moon. Not that moon, this moon. You know, Earth's dingleberry. Now, why did I choose the moon as the first episode of Stuff You Don't Know, But You Probably Should? Well, here's the reason. I like to think I'm a pretty smart guy, as do most of you. But it turns out it was until my 30s that I thought the reason that the moon looked the way it did in the sky was because of a shadow cast onto it by the Earth. I know. It's absolutely ridiculous, and you'll learn soon why. But it makes me feel stupid. In fact, it's a memory that still haunts me to this day. I don't know why they make such a big deal about lunar eclipse. I'm gonna have to find her later before she gets sprayed by a skunk again. Anyway, I don't know why they make such a big deal on the news about lunar eclipses. They happen practically every day. Sometimes it's a part of the moon, sometimes it's all of the moon, sometimes it's none of the moon. And I know when they're gonna happen because my grandfather clock inside shows me with his pictures. And I'm no dummy. I made my own moonshine, and I whittled this stick into a stickball stick. Almost there. What the? I do not remember sounding anything or looking anything like that. But I mean, you know what they say. They say your memories betray you. In fact, I'm pretty sure that if I was scooped up by the cops and they had me in an interrogation room, that cop would be like, hey man, we've got him in the other room. He's spilling his guts, memory is. Oh yeah, he's singing like a canary. Scratch that. You know what? Canaries, they make a lot of noise, but they're hard to understand. He's in the other room. He's talking English like a parrot. He's conjugating verbs like a cockatoo. Oh yeah, memory, yeah, he's betraying the shit out of you. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, the moon. Earth's dingleberry. Wait, did I say that already? Oh, damn you, memory. So, feeling pretty stupid about the fact that I made it until my 30s thinking that the shadow of the Earth is what caused moon phases. I went on the old intranet just to try and make myself feel better. Like, was I the only one that thought this ridiculous thing? And it turns out, thankfully, no, I'm not the only one. It's actually a very, very popular misconception. It's as popular as some other ones like if you go out in the cold without a jacket, you'll catch pneumonia. That's not true. Pneumonia and the flu are caused by viruses. And those little bugs don't give a f*** if you're wearing a jacket. Another one, if you ask an undercover cop if he's a cop, he has to tell you. No, he does not. No, I learned that one the hard way. And another one is that Rudolph is a part of the original reindeer. He is not. It's Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Hubba Hubba, Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen. That's it. Rudolph, no. He's something that came along later, invented by big department store, and then seared into our brains by big claymation. By the way, I was terrified of this thing when I was a child. I don't know why. He's adorable and cuddly. I mean, I would have him as a stuffed animal now. I mean, not as an adult, but as a kid, knowing what I know. Anyway, so Rudolph, he was invented basically as like a project in 1939. Montgomery Ward, the big old boss man, he came up to a guy named Robert May and he said, hey, we need you to make a character that's going to sell more coloring books. So Robert May creates Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and it was a hit. Not really. In fact, the boss, after seeing this, was like, red nose? I mean, that's kind of synonymous with being a drunk. Is that what we really want? I mean, which is it, Rudolph? Are you a hero or are you a drunk? Or are you both? So you're probably saying, why am I so down on Rudolph? Well, here's the reason why. He is not a practical reindeer. Sure, he was handy one foggy Christmas Eve. But then what about the rest of the year? Santa lives in the North Pole, where it's dark 6 months of the year. So what? You got Rudolph out there in the barn, his nose is going 24/7, Santa can't get any sleep. Plus, every once in a while, Santa's not sure, is it Rudolph's nose or is he being raided by Interpol because on the off season he uses his magic sleigh to run drugs for Colombian kingpins? Little known fact. Honestly, I think this is what happened to Rudolph. And that was the first time that Santa tried venison. Oh yeah, I said the first time. Yeah, I mean, once he got a little taste of Rudolph, he started to have an appetite for it. Plus, let's think. You got all these male reindeer and Vixen. Everyone's banging Vixen. She's putting out little reindeer pups. But we never hear about those. Where did they all go? I'm just saying, maybe Santa served them up Cajun style. And that's my Santa fact of the show. And you might be asking yourself, why was this last cartoon black and white when all the other ones I've shown are in color? Well, that cartoon I just showed was actually drawn by me when I was in high school, when I thought I was going to be a big bad cartoonist, back before the world crushed my dreams. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, the moon. Earth's dingleberry. Wait, God, memory. So let's talk about the moon phases. Now, you're probably also thinking, man, wow, you sure took quite a detour to get back to talking about the moon phases. Yeah, I did. Here's the reason. I want this show to be fun. I want it to be like a roller coaster ride where at the end you puke up knowledge. If you wanted to just learn about the moon phases, you can go to one of 10,000 videos on the internet to learn about that. But good luck staying up. And in fact, you know what? If that's what you want, I dare you right now. Go to one of those videos, because this is what you're going to see. With a maximum speed of 671 million miles an hour, light travels from the sun, which is 93 million miles. You have a waxing gibbons, not to be confused with the waning gibbous. Slammed by craters from asteroids from the Kuiper Belt. I think the best Dungeons & Dragons character is a mage. You know what? If that's what you want, good luck. But if you want fun, boop, stick with me. Listen, I'm learning with an edge. I'm saying the shit your teachers can't say, that they wish they could say. That's right. So, without further ado, let's talk about why does the moon look the way it does. I don't have a big budget, and I don't have special effects, so I'm going to have to show you guys using this styrofoam ball and this flashlight. Let's go to my Super Duty Studios and see how it works. Okay, so here is the full moon when the sun is shining directly onto the moon. And then we see it as we're standing on Earth. As the moon rotates around the Earth, the sun stays in the same spot, but the light that we see is different. Here we see what looks like half of a moon. Here's when we see that typical man in the moon shape that you see in all the movies and storybooks and all that. Eventually, we get to what's called a new moon, which is where the sun is on the opposite side. We can't see anything. In fact, you can't see a new moon unless you want to go blind looking into the sun. And as it rotates back around the Earth, We get Man on the Moon, the other side, the Man in the Moon's twin, I call him. Then the half moon, and then eventually, around 27.3 days later, we get back to the full moon. And apparently the shadow. Okay. Now, the light from the sun isn't always directly shining on the moon. Sometimes it's coming from above the moon, which might give you a shape something like this. Sometimes it's coming from below the moon, which gives you a shape something like this. And once in a blue moon, you might see a situation like this, where the light is actually coming from underneath the moon, giving this sort of U-shaped crescent. And by the way, the blue moon is the second full moon in a given month. So I know I said once in a blue moon you might see this, but technically I was using it as an expression of speech as opposed to literally. It's not every blue moon you see this. Anyway. And then also, the moon sometimes likes to use this opportunity to tell ghost stories around the campfire. Ooh. 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 Wasn't that fun? Bill Nye's got nothing on me. All right, so let's talk about another thing about the moon that confuses people all the time. People will say, I saw the moon out during the day. How is that possible? Well, it's possible because it turns out the moon is actually out during the day almost as much as it is at night. But because of television and movies and storybooks and our uneducated parents, we were all brought up to believe that the sun and the moon kind of come out like shifts of work. You know, the sun comes out, the rooster goes cock-a-doodle-doo, and then everyone gets up, they have their day, everyone's happy, everything's great. Then the sun clocks out, and that's when the moon comes in for his shift. He's tired, he's smoking a cigarette, he's disheveled. Because let's face it, working overnights fucking blows. And eventually all the people go to sleep, all the animals go to sleep, and the only thing left are crickets and people committing crime. And one little note about crickets. They seem to be a creature that has defied evolution. Because on the one hand, they're dark as night, as not to be seen by predators. That's a good thing. But then on the other hand, they're making all this goddamn noise so that the predators know exactly where to find them and eat them. How are they still here? Crickets. They're like ninjas with spurs. Okay, so then why is it that the moon is out during the day? Well, I could use special 3D animation to show you or some sort of cool special effects or whatever, but I wanted to take it down to its basics using just a globe. And here's the reason why. There is a popular theory out there by flat earthers that if you see the sun and the moon in the sky at the same time, it proves the earth is flat. It just does. It's science. Which brings me to my pet peeve of the show. Flat earthers. How is it possible that you use science to prove that the earth is flat and then know so little about science? How is this possible? This makes you the dumbest things on the planet. That's right, I said things, not even people. Flat earthers are as dumb as monkeys. No, you know what? That's not fair to monkeys. Sure, you fling your own shit, but you're still smarter than flat earthers. All right, it makes them as dumb as tardigrades. That little microbiological, microscopic little, no, you know what? They survived 5 mass extinctions. They're obviously smart. Okay, flat earthers are as dumb as a rock with a smiley face painted on it. And that's me being pretty harsh to rocks. Sorry, rocks. That pet peeve of the show brought to you by God. Why won't you just accept the things I've created? Why you gotta make things so hard? So, moving on. Let's go find out why you see the moon during the day back in my Super Duty studio. Okay, so in my crude model here, we have the moon, the earth, and the sun. Whew, hot. Whew, hot. Whew, whew. Mental note, don't put your hand in front of the sun. Okay, so obviously this is not to scale. And if you think it is, then you're probably going to join the flat earthers in thinking the earth is flat. Anyway, so you got North America right there, okay? And I tried to line it up so this line on the table is roughly the difference between day and night, so we can see how you can see the moon during the day. So here you got North America. It's daytime. It's going counterclockwise, and now it's nighttime. Coming back up, and it's half and half there. You got New York, daytime. LA, nighttime. Okay, so when North America's here, the moon's back here. Pretty easy. It's nighttime, we see the moon at night, no problem. When it goes to the daytime, we see the moon, not at all. That's what we see, the moon, not at all. But the moon does this funny thing where it rotates around the earth once every about 27.3 days, so about roughly once a month, which isn't that convenient. Why does the moon rotate around the earth once a month? It's convenient, isn't it? Like, well, how does it know to do that? Or did we create the idea of a month based on how long it takes the moon to go around the earth? Probably that. Okay, so as the moon is rotating, it gets to a point thusly, about 7 days after the full moon, where it's just about into the daytime, but not quite. So part of North America is seeing it during the night, and maybe a little part is seeing it at dusk or dawn. Probably dawn, not dusk in this particular example. But eventually what happens is the moon crosses over into the daytime hemisphere. So North America comes spinning around. Hey, look, it's morning time. And what? The moon is out in the day. North America's out in the day, the moon's out in the day, everyone's out in the daytime. It's nice and frolicky. And then when North America goes back in the night, no moon, no moon. It's funny, we never notice when there's no moon, only when there is one. So that's basically it. And then eventually it gets to here where it's in front of the sun, you can't see it because you'll go blind. And then when it comes back around here, same thing, you'll start to see it during the day. And then eventually it comes back here and you see it at night. And that, my friends, is how you can see the moon during the day. Now, my demonstration. Fast time. Daytime, blind time, back to daytime, nighttime. I'm going to write that song. Oh, that was fun. I hope too many flat earthers haven't committed suicide. Oh, everything I believed is wrong. Of course, why are they watching this? They're not. Okay, so let's move on to the third thing that commonly confuses people about the moon. Now, you've heard it said thousands, millions, trillions, maybe a Googleplex of times. That's right, Google's not just a search engine, it's also a really large number. There's something else that you learned that you probably did not know. Ding! So you hear it said all the time. Oh man, people are acting crazy. Must be a full moon out tonight. No, that's not why people are acting crazy. I'm here to set the record straight. The reason people are acting crazy when there's a full moon is because they are assholes. That's why. You know, and then you see a couple of assholes. They start to make it seem like everyone's being crazy. You look up in the moon and you go, yeah, full moon. Now it all makes sense. But it doesn't. You're using what's called selective memory. It's a lot like when craps players believe that every time the stick person changes out, it's a 7 out. It's not. Not even close. But in their heads, that's how they remember it. And in your head, you always remember people being crazy on a full moon, even though they're probably just as crazy any other night. So, where does this come from? This has been going on for centuries. Well, for starters, the word lunatic and lunacy come from the same Latin term that gives us the term lunar. So there's that. Also, the legend of the werewolf, where every full moon, normal guy just turns into a monster and starts killing everybody. That probably helped perpetuate the idea. But it's a little medieval. Like maybe back when you were wearing sandals that made sense, but nowadays, come on. So then people started to get more scientific about it. They said, well, listen, the moon has a gravitational effect on the Earth. It actually pulls the oceans away from the Earth, which causes the tides. So, if it can pull the water off the Earth, and we're made up mostly of water, well then, ipso facto, the word I learned on my daily calendar today, ipso facto, obviously the full moon has an effect on our bodies being made up of mostly water. There. Case solved. But not really. Nice try, Einstein. Except for there's one small problem. The moon is just a rock. It has the same mass the entire month. Whether it's a new moon, whether it's a full moon, it has the same effects on the water, on the Earth, and the water in our body. So in order for your theory to be true, you're suggesting that the effects of the moon are greater just because you shine a light on it. But that's not the case. Unlike the time I turned on the living room light and caught my parents doing it on the couch, then the effects of the trauma were made greater by shining a light on it. Still going to therapy for that one to this day. So, if anything, really, if you want to be scientific about it, you could say, oh man, everyone's acting crazy tonight. There must be a supermoon out. Now that one you can kind of get away with because in that instance, a supermoon is actually closer to the Earth than normal. Therefore, it would technically have a greater gravitational pull on the water in our bodies, maybe changing our personalities. But I'm still going to go ahead and hold to the fact that the reason people are crazy on a full moon is because they are assholes. Which brings us to the final thing of tonight's show. Werewolves. I told you, a roller coaster ride. Now, out of the legends, the human turn into monster legends, the two most popular ones we see are werewolf and vampire. Now, it got me thinking, in a world that doesn't rely on physics or truth or anything, I don't know, maybe a world where the Earth was flat. If somebody came up to me and said, hey, you have to become one of the other. Silver bullet to my head. You have to become a werewolf or a vampire. Which would you choose? Well, I'm going to choose vampire. And here's why. Because the legend of the werewolf is really kind of shitty if you were a werewolf. For starters, let's look at how you become a vampire. You're usually just making out with another vampire and then they bite you on the neck and then, I don't know, you pass out or whatever. It's really not much different and probably hurts just about the same as going and getting your blood drawn at a blood bank. In fact, I'm pretty sure that when you first become a vampire, they're like, hey, before you become undead and you only want to drink blood, have this banana. Get your strength up because you lost a lot of blood in that little transaction. But I mean, really, becoming a vampire is about that painful. Now, on the other hand, the werewolf, he's backpacking through Europe, minding his own business, and then out of nowhere, this monster dog comes out and he starts slashing him to bits. He's chewing out his neck. He rips his eyes out, chews off his ears, rips his intestines. They're just laying on the ground. And then the werewolf stops right before killing you. He's not even cool about it. He's just like, I'm stuffed. I'm just going to leave this guy bleeding out on the moors. So, becoming a werewolf is also the same as getting your blood drawn if the nurse repeatedly stabbed you to over and over with a paring knife until you bled out on the floor. So, they're about the same. So that's already strike one against werewolves. Next, when you become a vampire, you always, always, always look like this. But when you become a werewolf, chances are you probably look like this. Why? Well, because vampires are kind of like a sorority. They ain't letting fatty in, okay? So if they're choosing to make you a vampire, chances are you're probably good looking as well, because they want a nice good looking little crowd, right? But the werewolf, he's just a dumb dog wandering around. He just got done pissing on a fire hydrant, and now he sees you with your orange fluffy coat, and there you go. You're a vampire, not at all. You're a werewolf. Ugh. I just spit all over the place. Great. And then, let's talk about the lifestyles. When you become a vampire, you get a mansion, you inherit a bunch of friends, you party all night, you sleep all day. It's like you're 27 for forever. But when you're a werewolf, you still got to keep your shitty studio apartment, and you got to keep your job at Best Buy. Well, that kind of sucks. That's another strike against werewolves. And then lastly, let's talk about the transformation from human to said monster. When you're a werewolf, there you are. You're sitting there in your studio apartment, playing a little Call of Duty, and all of a sudden, before you know it, your hands break in half. And then they start extending, and you're like, oh no, I can't get to the button to save my progress. And then your face breaks in half, and your spine does this, and your shoulder does that. Your eyes fall out, and new ones with the slits come in, or I don't know how exactly it works, but I know it's really painful. And then the next thing you know, you wake up nude in the zoo, covered in blood, thinking like, oh man, I'm late for work again. I really should start requesting my days off for when there's a full moon. I really should get this together. But when you're a vampire, the entire transformation from human to vampire is going from this to this. That's why, my friends, in a world where the earth is flat and I can choose between vampire and werewolf, I am choosing vampire every single time. And also, I've deemed it, I've deemed that I'm good looking enough to be a vampire. That's kind of shitty of me to do that, but I decided I am, so there. Okay. So that was my show. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And most importantly, for me, I hope you share this. Here, let's make ourselves a little deal. If you learned anything at all that you did not already know, then just share this with somebody else. You have to. Don't be a dick. Do it. Because listen, if you keep coming to my shows, I guarantee that you will always be the smartest person in the room. I mean, I'm doing you a favor. Okay? Okay? So there. Just share it. Was that douchey enough? Did I douche it up enough? Just share it, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man.